Good morning. This is Larry Cedar. It is Sunday, April 19th at about 11:10 in the morning a.m. I'm here for another session on Sqanning, Sqanning, which is the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical and mental calm. So it is Sunday and there's a lot going on around the house, so reminded me of a thought I had about this process, and that is the expression, circumstances are rarely, if ever, ideal. One of the reasons I designed this technique for its extreme simplicity is because you're rarely going to be in circumstances where it's going to be easy to sit and calm yourself and relax. And a lot of us, we try to find a very quiet place, a very comfortable seat, a very isolated circumstances so that we can calm ourselves and relax. But the truth of the matter is, in life, there's going to be times when you're in situations where there's a lot of noise, a lot of activity, just a lot going on, and no one's going to necessarily want to respect your need for absolute silence, and that's their prerogative. So this was designed to give you a way to find a technique for calming yourself without being in ideal circumstances. You don't have to go to an ashram or a temple or a church or some retreat or hideaway in some cave to do this. You can do it anywhere, anytime. And the reason it's simple in this way is because it's based on a very simple concept, and that is the incremental release of muscular tension. So if I'm sitting in a subway, or I'm sitting in a noisy train station, or if I'm on a plane, I can do something as simple as clenching my hands together and experiencing what that feels like and letting go. That's it. You've done the technique. All you're doing is establishing a contrast between what it feels like to do one of the two things a muscle can do, contract or release. So I can be in a very noisy environment, I can be in a very busy atmosphere, there can be people talking, there can be cars rushing by, and I can sit and without anyone even knowing what I'm doing, just gently clasp my hands together, and on your own count, 3, 2, 1, release. And let that sensation of release pass through your body. Now, there's a lot going on around my house today. There's a washing machine going right over here. There's a gardener chopping down a tree outside over there. I think it's our neighbor. Very noisy. So the instinct would be to say, I can't relax now, I can't do this now, it's just too quiet, I got to find a place. So you'll find some room and then something else will pop up, some other noise, or you'll get in the car and try to go somewhere and someone else will enter your space. So that's fine with this technique, because all I want you to do, regardless of what's going on, where you're sitting, clasp your hands together, gently clench your hands, experience what it feels like to contract those muscles, and then on your own count or my count, 3, 2, 1, release. And let that sense of release pass through your body. Deep breath. So just know that when you're practicing this technique, you're not always going to get all the way to a deep state of relaxation. What's important, if tension is always building, always increasing in life, is that you're taking it down a peg. You're reversing that process. You're not always going to be able to take it from a 10 to a 1 or a 10 to a 0. Sometimes you're going to take it from a 10 to a 9, but that counts. And you're reinforcing by practicing it, even under those circumstances, the fact that you have control. You can reduce your tension even by a small amount, and that small release of tension counts. If you do that 10 times a day, it may be only a small amount, but at the end of the day, you will have depleted your tension that much more. So don't discount that. And never say, I can't practice relaxation now. There's too much going on around me. There's too much on my mind. That's exactly when you should practice it. Because ideally, we should be the calm at the center of a storm. Ideally, you want to be the eye of the hurricane. Things can be whipping around you, but you have the ability to bring a calm to yourself under any circumstances, because it's all within you. You don't have to get anyone's approval to do it. You don't have to get anyone's assistance to do it. You don't have to have anyone tell you whether you're doing it right or wrong. It's all within your command. So here we go. Gently clasp the hands together. Experience what that feels like to contract the muscle. Remember, the muscles can only do one of two things, contract or release. That's all we're doing. We're approaching the muscles and we're saying contract so I can feel what that feels like. And then on my command, you're going to completely release that tension and let that sense of release pass through your entire body. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. And when your body sends you an impulse to breathe, that's a good sign. That means your body has, in a sense, heard what you're doing, approved it, and said, now I will make my contribution to this process by telling you to take a deep breath, and that will move you further into this state of relaxation. Clasp your hands together again. Clasping. 3, 2, 1. Release. Let that sense of release pass through your entire body. I'm actually quite amused because I'm having to take my own advice today. I hear that electric saw going outside, and it's distracting me. Like I would be normally distracted by many things. But all I'm going to do is continue the process, because you can do this, as I said. You can be the eye in the hurricane. Clench your hands together, feel that contraction, and on my count, you're going to completely release that tension and experience what it feels like to pass that sense of release through your entire body. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. And again, 90% of this technique is awareness. What you're doing is sitting in this quiet, still place of observation after you've done the release is paying attention to how that's changed your body, paying attention to how, and acknowledging how you have literally controlled your state of being, that you have that power to do that, reinforcing that you have that tool. So it's still silent observation that actually has the greatest benefit of all in this process, because you're observing, you're studying what you're capable of and how you've changed your very sense of being by taking these simple steps. Incremental muscular release. Here we go. Clasp the hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Let that sense of release pass into your shoulders, your stomach, your legs, your feet. Deep breath. Still silent observation. Pay very close attention to the changes that have just occurred in your body and encourage them. I practice this technique because I tend to get very wound up, tense, constricted. This technique allows me to reverse that process. I'm going through this at the same time as you. So the observations I make are not theoretical, they're happening in real time. So if I was to assess right now my state of being now, as opposed to when I started a few minutes ago, if I started at a 10, I'm now definitely at an 8.5. By heightening my awareness of my ability to release tension, muscular tension, incrementally, by paying attention, I'm signaling my body that it's time to relax, and my body will begin to follow my lead. I'm feeling the difference. And it's important that you acknowledge it and that you assess for yourself where you're feeling, because by acknowledging it, you're encouraging it, and you're also building a sense within yourself that this simple incremental release of muscular tension and still quiet observation has value. It's only a few minutes out of your day, but it's very valuable. So by practicing this technique, you're building that sensibility, you're building that sense of awareness of the value of still, quiet observation and incremental muscular release. It can enhance your entire day because you carry that with you. After you're finished, you carry that into your next moment. Clasp your hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. Still, quiet observation of the changes that have just occurred in your body. Let that sense of release pass through your entire body. Deep breath. Now I got to be honest with you. Sometimes when I'm practicing this technique or talking about this technique, I hardly believe myself. I'm doing it, but my body's not necessarily going along with it, and I'm kind of questioning whether this works or not. But I've done it enough to know that within a few minutes, typically 10 minutes actually, of practicing it, I will begin to feel real change. I'm not experiencing it now. Part of me is really resistant to this. It always is. And so I have doubts as to whether it works. But as I said, I've done it enough times now that I know that after 10 minutes, it will. So we do it again. Clasp the hands together, and on my count, 3, 2, 1, release, complete release. Let that sense of release and relaxation pass through your entire body. Take a deep breath. 15 seconds of still, quiet observation. You're observing yourself, how the muscles are changing, how the breath is freeing up, how the blood is circulating more freely. Deep breath. We cannot underestimate the power of still, quiet observation. Just sitting in quiet, very still, and taking stock of your state of being. It has such power. And yet it's such a rarity. We find so few occasions to do it, or we're so afraid to practice still, quiet observation. And yet that's the very key to bringing yourself back to yourself, to coming back into your own skin, to reconnecting, to releasing. Because when we're observing the inward state of being, we're letting go of all the externals that we've attached ourselves to, that have got us wound up, that have got us contracted and tense. So we're reversing, again, that process, even if it's just for a few minutes. Still, quiet observation. And why is it so difficult? Because it means letting go. It means letting go of all the things we're thinking about, all the things we think about ourselves, all the concerns and worries we have about the future, the regrets or concerns we have about the past, our plans for the day, the activities we do which make us feel better, we think. We have to let them all go. If we're going to be still and quiet and just observe the beating of your heart and the flow of your blood, you have to let all of that go. And it feels strange because it feels like you're nothing. How can I have value? How can I be interesting? How can I accomplish anything? How can I exist if I don't have all these concepts I hold on to? And yet it's the very key to success, because you're coming back to the core of your being, which is nothingness. 15 seconds. So again, if this process strikes you as strange, boring, useless, nothing, that's okay. Hang in there with this sense, hang in there with this sensibility, until you begin to realize that you're now moving into an area of feeling as opposed to thinking. You're not judging. You're not attributing value to this process. You're just experiencing it. You're moving back into experiencing yourself, to feeling your limbs, your hands, your face, your head. By letting go of tension, you're coming to a place where you just exist. That's where you will completely release tension and induce this deep state of physical and mental calm, when you literally come to a place of nothing. Still, quiet observation. And the way we achieve that is, as I said, the incremental release of muscular tension. So let's start the process again. Clasp your hands together, and on my count, 3, 2, 1, release. Let that sense of release pass through your body. The body will send you an impulse to take a deep breath. Take it. Exhale, letting even more tension out of your body. 15 seconds of still, quiet observation. Deep breath. As part of my profession, I go into waiting rooms but sitting in a room full of actors against whom you're competing, many of whom are in a heightened state of anxiety and talking very loudly or engaging in different kinds of conversations and wanting to talk to you, you have to somehow tune yourself out of all this and bring yourself back into yourself so that you can do the best job possible and give a good audition and get the job. So part of this process for me was discovering a technique I could do in front of everybody that didn't even look like I was quote unquote meditating, but that I could induce this deep state of relaxation. And so I began to realize that getting upset with noise or distraction or anything along those lines was pointless, because the whole idea is to be calm in the middle of all that insanity. As I said, circumstances are rarely, if ever, ideal. What you want to be able to do is, in the middle of all the madness, find peace and calm. That's where it really counts. We can all go disappear into a cave somewhere in Tibet for 6 months and we'll feel very calm, but the minute we come out, we'll face the same distractions and challenges as we do now. And if we can't incorporate those somehow into this newly found state of calm, we'll just go back to being a reactive person. So I encourage you to practice this technique under all circumstances. In the middle of the grocery store, in your car, in the middle of traffic. Don't close your eyes, don't go to sleep, but just consciously, incrementally release tension. Let's do it again. Clasp your hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. So let that sense of release pass through your body. Again, what you're doing is you're studying that sense of release, what it feels like, how it feels different. You're observing it, you're making note of it for future reference, and you are simultaneously training yourself to be able to make this incremental release of muscular tension. At the same time, building a sense of your own power over your own being. You can induce this state. You don't have to have a shot. You don't have to smoke a joint. You don't have to eat a big chocolate cake. You don't have physical and mental calm. You are building the ability to do that under any circumstances. You can always. No one can stop you from consciously deciding to incrementally release the smallest amount of tension. If I say to you now, on my count, I want you to release 1% of the tension in your body, your entire body. 3, 2, 1, you ready? Release. You just inched your way a little bit further down that road towards complete calm. It was a small amount, but you did it. So it's important that you recognize that and acknowledge that. Clasp your hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Take a deep breath. 15 seconds of still, quiet observation. Deep breath. Now, take an assessment of where you're at now as opposed to where you started. If you started at 10, think about where you might be. I feel like I'm now at a 7. And the further you get down that road, the easier it gets. The more you want to go further. So really acknowledge that feeling. Pay attention to what it feels like to be more settled into your chair, to be breathing more easily, to feel a slight throbbing in your limbs as the blood flow increases to your feet, your hands, your face, your head. 15 seconds. So people may come to these sessions and they may say, but nothing's going on. I wanted something interesting. I wanted to experience something. I wanted to rush. I wanted a thrill. I wanted to be fascinated. I wanted to be distracted. That's why I came. That's why I signed onto the internet. That's why I went on Facebook. That's why I went on Instagram. That's what I'm looking for, is some sort of, I want to be energized. I want to be thrilled. I want to be fascinated. But more importantly, I want to involve myself in something else of interest. That's how, I'll admit, that's why I spend so much time on the internet, because it distracts me. From what? from how I'm feeling at the moment, which may be maybe not so good. So we distract ourselves. We keep our focus on something external, believing that it'll make us feel better, but in reality, it's just distancing us from ourselves. And the way we come back to ourselves is by letting go of all those things. So if someone comes to a session and they say, why should I practice this? Why should I stay here? You're sitting and quietly doing nothing. I'll say, that's exactly what we're doing. We're letting go of all the external things we've attached ourselves to make ourselves feel better, and we're coming back to just being. Which initially may feel a little frightening because you feel sort of vulnerable and exposed, and you're having to actually feel whatever you're feeling. Those may be unpleasant thoughts or concerns. You may actually have to experience what your body's feeling. That could be physical aches and pains. That could be a state of agitation. So just letting go of everything and experiencing yourself can be initially rather daunting. But the truth of the matter is, once you pass back into yourself, it actually feels better than any of the distractions because you've reconnected to yourself. You feel more at peace. You feel more settled. You don't have a compulsion to reach out to anything. You don't have a compulsion to pick up the phone, to turn on the TV, to take the shot, to smoke the joint, to smoke the cigarette, or whatever activities you involve yourself in to make yourself feel better, because you're suddenly within yourself. You're very at peace and satisfied. So, as long as I've been doing this, as many years as I've been doing this, as many hours, I still, and that includes today, find it difficult to start. And I'll always find a reason not to. Like today, for example, I hear someone, trimming trees out there. It's very loud. Well, that's too much. I can't focus. Or there'll be something else I feel like I need to be taken care of. Or I'm too busy. I have so much to do. I can't let it all go and just sit. That's exactly when you need to do it. When external things are getting to you, that's when you need to go, I'm going to come back into myself. Let those things be. That's just the world. But I'm going to come back into myself and find the satisfaction of just being, so that I'm no longer buffeted or controlled by all these external occurrences. But it takes that moment of saying, I'm going to let it all go just for 5 minutes. And that's difficult. So if you find this a difficult place to enter, join the club. I find it challenging every time. Today in particular, because I was very busy with a lot of things. I was thinking about a lot of obligations. I had this noise outside. I had all the reasons in the world not to start, but I know from experience that's exactly when I need to do it. And even if it feels uncomfortable or strange or boring or weird or distracting, I do it because once I get past the initial resistance, I come back to myself, to just being, and I feel better, which is what we all want to feel, better. So clasp your hands together. You're creating this sense of contraction in the muscles. The muscles can only contract or release. It's very simple. You're saying, now I want you to contract, and on my count, I want you to completely release that tension and let that sense of release pass through your entire body as far as you can let it pass, all the way down to your feet, perhaps, the top of your head, like the ripples that occur when you drop a pebble in a lake. Let those waves just extend out through your entire body. Clasping, 3, 2, 1, release. Let that sense of release pass through your body. Deep breath. Transmitting even more tension out of your body with the exhalation, then 15 seconds of complete stillness and quiet and self-observation. What are you experiencing? I have a heightened awareness of the beating of my heart. I have a heightened sensation in all my limbs, my face, my head, my legs. I literally feel as though I'm re-entering my body. Now there's a lot going on around me today. I can hear those gardeners out there. But whatever's distracting you, let that be. That is not you. You are coming back into yourself. You can exist independent of all these distractions. And it's important, most important, when you're in the middle of a sea of distractions, that you come back into yourself. Otherwise, you're pulled and pushed by these forces. And that's when you lose your sense of self and you lose control. So at the most inconvenient time, when there's noise, when there's distraction, when there's obligations, when there's things to do, when your mind is being pulled in a million directions, is exactly the time when you should take just a few minutes to scan, to experience that sense of release, to come back into yourself. Because when you're being pulled externally is when you need to bring yourself back the most. And you might practice this in unlikely places. As I said, you might be stuck in traffic. And just find some tension in your body, register that contraction, and then on your own count, 3, 2, 1, let it go. Incrementally, the smallest amount. The smallest amount. You can just simply make a fist. 3, 2, 1, release. And let that sense of release pass through your arm, into your chest, down your legs and your feet. Again, what you're doing is you're building a heightened awareness and capacity to relax. You're reinforcing that process. You're reinforcing that technique. You're strengthening your ability to induce that state of relaxation. Regardless of what's going on around you, you can always find a way to simply and incrementally release the smallest amount of tension. And building your awareness, your ability to do that is the key, the core to this technique. Building your own awareness of a skill that you've always had but you've forgotten to use. It's a tool that we were given by the universe for centering ourselves, but we forget. These days especially, there's a million things pulling us in a million directions, pulling us out of ourselves. You need to do that. You should be doing that. Have you heard about this? What do you think about that? What is your opinion on this? What do you think about what happened back there? You should drink this. You should eat this. You should try this app. You should read this book. You should win this argument. You should acquire more money. You should change careers. Should. Always being pulled out of ourselves. And that's fine. That's life. Again, you can't deny it. That's reality. But you can add a tool to your life toolbox that allows you to pull back from that and bring yourself back to yourself and center and calm yourself so that you can more effectively face these challenges. And it's just a choice. And the mistake we make in forgetting that we have this ability is that we begin to think that every solution lies outside of ourselves. Every challenge we face emotionally, psychologically, can only be solved by some external force, external device, external creation, external piece of electronics, some food. I feel bad. I feel out of touch with myself. I feel unsuccessful. Who do I have to talk to? What money do I have to spend? What device do I have to buy? What app do I have to use? What radio station do I have to listen to? What television station do I need to obsessively watch to make myself feel better? And that's fine. They're all out there. We're given more choices now than ever before. So it's all the more important these days to learn how to pull back from those things and say, those are all fine, but the ultimate solution lies within me. Right here. The ultimate satisfaction is being in your own skin, experiencing yourself, being at peace with yourself, your still, quiet place of nothingness, where all you're experiencing is yourself, your breath, the beating of your heart, the circulating of your blood. Bring yourself back to that place once, twice a day, if for no other reason than just to remind yourself that you can do it. You don't have to do this at all if you don't want, but if you can take that moment to remind yourself that ultimately it all starts here, and being in touch with yourself is the greatest gift you can give yourself, offers the greatest solution to this challenge we call life, you will have benefited yourself greatly. Because if it all starts here, and we can come back to this place once, twice, 3 times a day, however long you feel you need it, then we can re-enter life and face all these challenges more successfully because we're coming from our truth, our place of stillness and quiet, our place of nothingness. It's a clean slate. Every problem that presents itself, you come to it with an open mind, with a relaxed body, with your instincts available to you, with a clear mind. You're not coming with preconceptions. If you can come back to this, every situation you can come into knowing who you are, what you have to offer, your limitations, your strengths, with a clear mind and a relaxed body. So all this technique is doing is giving you the opportunity to practice coming back to you once, twice, 3 times a day, whatever you feel. You could do it once and say, that's it. I remember what I am, who I am. I don't ever have to do it again. That's fantastic. I always say, if someone asks you where the moon is and you point to the moon, once they see the moon, you can put your hand away. You can stop doing all this mumbo jumbo, which is just a technique I've developed to get myself to that place. Okay? You can find your own technique. Jen, you're welcome. You can find your own technique, and I encourage you to do so because each of us is extremely individual. What works for me won't necessarily work for you. The only reason I share this is because I believe I've come up with a technique which is simple enough for anyone to practice anytime, anywhere, in as little as 30 seconds, based on the construction of our being and the way we work. And that is the incremental release of muscular tension, which in turn induces a deep state of physical and mental calm. How does that work? Well, if our body is primarily muscle, and the muscle can either contract or release, then all your body's doing all day is contracting or releasing, or any combination of that. We tend to move towards greater contraction because life is stressful, and the muscles contract to enable us to perform our activities and our jobs and our relationships, and also to guard us, to keep us safe, to put up a sort of muscular protection, our armor. But we tend to therefore become too far down the road of contraction, and we forget about the value of release, which is equally of value. It should be a balance. Our life should be in balance. Contraction, release. Contraction, release. That's the natural cycle of life. But we lose touch with the release part because we're so drawn into this world. So by incrementally releasing something as simple as the muscles in one part of your body, the ham, you are signaling to your body that would like very much now to move in the other direction, if only for a minute. I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to refamiliarize myself with the sensation of contraction by squeezing my hands together. And then on your count, or my count, you're going to completely release that tension and pay full attention to what it feels like to do the opposite, release. And let that sense of release pass through your entire body. You're putting on a different set of clothes. You've been wearing contraction all day, and we're going to change outfits. 3, 2, 1, release. Let that release pass through your body. That's where we want to live now. For a few minutes. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. And the reason you take a breath is because the minute you send that signal to your body goes, oh, I can take my foot off the gas. You're saying I'm allowed to breathe? Because think how much you hold your breath throughout the day in preparation, in contraction, in preparation for the challenges. And when you do this, you signal your body it's safe, it's okay, we're moving in another direction. The first thing your body wants is oxygen. If we got a break coming up, boss, let me breathe. Because I've been holding my breath all day and I just need to replenish. So it's going to send you a signal to breathe. Take it. You want to get back in sync with your body. We ignore the signals our bodies send us. And that's okay, because sometimes we have to push through great challenges in life. And the body will be saying, run, hide, duck, cover. Don't breathe, tense up as a way to protect us. Fine. God bless the body. Keeps us safe. But ultimately, we're in control. And if we tell the body, look, you're great, but I got to tell you, you need to let go for a second. The body will go, show me how. This is how. Contract, release, let that sense of release pass through your body, and you're saying to your body, we're safe now. Take a breath, and the body will go, thank goodness. And now you're headed down the road towards release and relaxation. You're not going to stay there forever. Don't get nervous. You're not giving up on life. You can go back to all your distractions and all your challenges. Of course, you have to live. But you're giving your body and your soul and your mind a break. You're putting balance back into your life. And the reason we take 15 seconds of still, quiet observation after doing this process is to register. Really pay attention. If you come to me and you say, Larry, I need you to show me how to staple 2 pieces of paper together. I'll say, pay attention. I'll staple it. I'll hand it to you. I'll say, go ahead, now you do it. You go, and I'll say, I want you to pay attention to how that felt. What it took to staple those 2 pieces together. I don't want you to just do it and throw it aside, because guess what? You're going to want to do this again. And I want you to get really good at it. And I want you to remember what it feels like and study it. So if someone comes to you and says, do you know how to staple 2 pieces of paper together? You'll go, oh yeah, I've done it 100 times. I know exactly what it feels like. That's why in the theater and in television and film, we rehearse so that we will become extremely conscious of that process of inhabiting another character, so that when the audience arrives, we can easily and readily assume that character. So you practice this technique of relaxation and release to educate yourself, to educate the muscles of your body, your lungs, your heart, your blood, as to what it feels like to step into that process, which we've lost touch with. Including me, every single day. And again, I practice this for hours, for years. By the end of the day, I've forgotten what it is to relax. I've accumulated a whole new day's worth of stress. And I want to hang on to that. I want to hang on to the things I've been thinking about, to my concepts. And I have to force myself, will myself into letting go. But I know how to do it now because I've practiced a lot and I know the benefit, and I want you to know the benefit as well. So just the observation portion of this technique is just building a heightened awareness of what it's like to relax and release. Let's do it again. Clasp the hands together. Feel that contraction. That's what muscles do, is contract or release. Experience it. Really feel that. That's what you do most of the day. And on my count, 3, 2, 1, release. And let that sense of release pass through your entire body, all the way down into your feet to the top of your head. Deep breath. 15 seconds of still, quiet observation. Study what it feels like to have released an incremental amount of tension. And encourage your body to go further if you can. If you feel a sense that you can relax and release even further, do it. Now you're scouring your body mentally. You're finding pockets of tension and you're saying, I can release there too. What about my neck? Incremental. 3, 2, 1, release. You're now in control. Now you're developing the power to let go. Deep breath. And that's what's kind of strange about this process, is when we think of power, when we think of skill, when we think of ability, a developed ability, we think of something we've gotten very good at doing. And letting go, relaxing, releasing, doesn't feel like you're doing anything. It feels like the opposite. It feels like you're not doing anything. But that in itself is a process. The fact that it doesn't give you that rush of I'm lifting weights, is what's strange about it. But it's true. Learning how to release the muscles of your body, even in the most incremental way, is a learned skill. But you can get very good at it if you practice. Here we go again. Clasping the hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Let that sense of release pass through your entire body. You're going deeper and deeper into a deepest state of relaxation and release. Deep breath. Now your body is really starting to get with the program. It's understanding what's going on, and it's starting to let go of its own accord. Because the body wants to relax. It's dying to relax. It's just asking for permission. You're giving it permission. And you're gradually and gently persuading it that it's okay to let go. 15 seconds of quiet, still observation. You know, in life, we tend to latch on to things. External events, challenges, relationships, work. We'll see something and we somehow mentally latch onto it as though we've got to try to figure out and deal with it. But you don't have to latch on to everything. And I keep referring to the gardener in the yard. I hear that chainsaw going out there, and my mind wants to latch onto it and go, why is that happening? Can't he stop? It's bothering me. It's invading my space. But when you come back into yourself, you can just say, that's there. And this can be what's happening to me, but it could be a car horn honking. It could be someone knocking at your door, someone saying, we need you to come immediately. You can hear all those things. You can observe them. They can become part of your consciousness, but you don't have to latch onto them. It just exists as part of your world. Just like anything else that's in your world. A table, a chair, a dog walking past you, a person talking in the room next door. You incorporate those into your existence, and you accept them. You don't fight them. And you don't latch on to them. Because now you've moved internally. You're concentrating on yourself and how you feel. And the more deeply you get into the sense of self, the more freely your heart is beating, the more you're actually experiencing the sensations of your legs, and your feet, and your head and your neck and your hands. You won't be so You won't have such a compulsion to latch on to everything that enters your consciousness. You'll just let it pass through. You can be in a state of deep relaxation and personal consciousness and not be pulled out of that by anything, because you're just allowing that to be. You're not denying it, you're not fighting it, you're just allowing it to be. So now we've got another 5 minutes or so. I'm going to take us into a more specific practice of this technique, which can take you into an even deeper state of release. And that's to focus on what I call the 8 zones of relaxation. Basically, it's just my approach to breaking the body down into specific areas that you can concentrate on releasing, which will move you even further and deeper into a state of relaxation. Zone number 1 is the face. Think about your face for a moment. Focus on whatever tension you feel, and on my count, release incrementally the smallest amount of tension from your face. 3, 2, 1, release. You'll feel a sort of droopy sensation, as though you've let go of your expression. Your jaw is slack, your forehead is no longer creased, your eyes are somehow a little looser in the socket. Again, the face. 3, 2, 1, release. Moving to the top of the head, what I call the skull. A lot of thinking going on up there. Focus on whatever tension you feel at the top of your head, and we do feel tension there when we're really thinking hard. You sometimes will feel a little pressure up there. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. Again, the top of the head. 3, 2, 1, release. Now I will feel that part of my body join with the face, which I also just relaxed. You'll begin to come together as a unit. As each of these areas relaxes, it will join the previous area until pretty soon, when I say relax, you'll feel it through your entire body. Now the back of the head, what I call the cap. 3, 2, 1, release. This entire area, face, back of the head, top of the head, is now incrementally more relaxed. Observe, register that. Remember what it feels like. Now into the neck. We all hold a lot of tension in our neck, especially because that's where we speak from. On my count, you're going to incrementally release the smallest amount of tension from your neck. 3, 2, 1, little bit, release. Now you're developing that ability to control your body. We all know how to tense up. It's just as simple to relax. It's just the opposite. And if it seems too daunting, remind yourself you're only incrementally releasing. If you make a fist and I say incremental, 3, 2, 1, release, tiniest amount. The body is holding on. All we're doing is sending an instruction to let go a little bit. As Robert De Niro would say, a little bit. The neck, 3, 2, 1, release. Again, 3, 2, 1, release. Now you release tension in this entire upper portion of your torso, the head, the neck. So do the whole thing at once. The face, the top of the head, the back of the head, the neck. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. And you'll begin to feel that sense of release trickle and transfer into the rest of your body. You'll feel the circulation increase. You'll feel more of a sensation in your legs. You'll feel more settled in your chair. Next, zone 5, the shoulders. 3, 2, 1, release. And again, the shoulders. 3, 2, 1, release. Observe how that feels. See what other parts of your body are joining in on that release. There's no reason to restrict it. If you feel it in your entire body, let that happen. Your body will take over at some point. Now moving into zone 6, the front, what I call the armor, the chest and stomach down into the waist. 3, 2, 1, release. You feel this flesh begin to hang from your body as it lets go of its tension. Again, the front, the chest, stomach in front of the waist. 3, 2, 1, release. As you settle deeper into your chair. Deep breath. Now the back down into the pelvis. The entire back area down into the pelvis. 3, 2, 1, release. And again, the back into the pelvis. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. And remember, the pelvic region involves the groin, areas of elimination, shall we say. So it's a very sensitive area. So as you become conscious of those areas, as you begin to tune into those areas, it might seem a little uncomfortable or weird, but think about how much tension you carry in those very sensitive areas. And if you incrementally release that tension, the tiniest amount, you'll feel the blood flow increase into those areas. You'll feel an awakening into the sensations of your body. Once your body begins to sense that that's actually good for you and it likes it, it will take over of its own accord. But if it feels a little strange, it's difficult to let go of control. It's difficult to relax. But we're doing it incrementally, so it's safe. So again, the back into the pelvis, the groin area. 3, 2, 1, release. The tiniest amount of tension. Incremental muscular release. Again, the back into the pelvis. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. So what have we done? We've released the tension in the face, the top of the head, the back of the head, the neck, the shoulders, the front of the body down into the waist and stomach, the back down into the pelvis. The final area, zone 8, is the legs down into the feet. The feet are very important because, as we know from reflexology, when your feet are relaxed because of all the nerve endings associated with the organs of your body, your entire body benefits. So if you feel a slight throbbing in your feet as you let the tension go and the blood flow increases, let that happen. That throbbing means the capillaries and the veins and the arteries are opening up. Your body is receiving more oxygen. The nerve endings are allowed to function more freely. So concentrate on whatever tension you feel in your legs and feet, and on my count, incrementally release the tiniest amount of tension in that area. The legs down into the feet. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. 15 seconds of still, quiet observation. Study the changes that are occurring in your body. Deep breath. So again, I'm going through this with you. Every time I start, it's like I've never done it before. So I will describe what I'm experiencing, and it may, resonate for you. I'm feeling a reduced sense of compulsion. I'm feeling like less as though I need to be somewhere, to do something, to say something, to teach anything, to go anywhere. My body is settling into itself, to a place where I can just be and experience myself at its most fundamental, a living, breathing human being. As I move into this area, I'm less concerned with how much money I have, what TV show I want to watch, what food I want to eat next, my title, my job. I've incrementally let go of that sense of holding on to what makes me feel alive, powerful, and in control. I've let go of that. And what I've come to is a place of great stillness and quiet and satisfaction. Because I feel as though just being is enough. And when the body hears it doesn't have to do anything to be alive, it says, then I can stop trying. If only for a moment, I can let it all go. I can release all the musculature. I can breathe freely. There are no challenges I'm facing in this moment. The only challenge I'm facing is that scary prospect of letting go of all those things I've been holding on to mentally and physically. And the muscles are a metaphor for your entire being. That's why I approach this process, why this technique is based in the concept of incremental muscular release. Because if you focus on tiny amounts of release of the musculature, you gradually induce the rest of the body to follow along. And it will. It wants to. It wants to relax. You have to gently coax it. You can't command your body to relax. You have to slowly introduce that feeling into the system. That's why I say the most important part of this process is awareness, because you start to become familiar with the sensation of release. What does it feel like to just let go? Okay, I'm feeling it here. I'm going to pass it on to my back. I'm going to pass it on to my hands. I'm going to pass it on to my legs and feet. I'm going to gradually persuade the body to let go. And the body wants to relax. It will come along once it begins to feel safe and understands that this is a good thing. It can let its guard down. It can relax the muscles. And what happens with the ultimate benefit of this is, if you think of the brain as just another muscle, the muscle follows suit. The brain joins in with the rest of the body. It wants to. The body wants to unify. It doesn't want to be disjointed. The brain joins in and says, I don't have to think so hard either. I don't have to obsess. And you reassure your body. You say, you can go back to this. You can go back to all your worries, all your concerns, all your work, all your stresses and strains and contractions and concepts and ideas and arguments and thoughts. You can go back to all of that. But it's important that you, every once in a while, come to a place of nothing. Complete and total muscular and mental release. If for no other reason than to remind yourself that that's enough. Not only is it enough, it's the best. It's the best place to be. Because you suddenly realize you're fine just being. There's nothing else you need to prove. There's nothing you need to think. There's nothing you need to prepare yourself for. You're in your original state, the state where you started as a baby. You were just existing. It's your purest self. And when you're back in touch with that, when you literally can feel who you are, then you can re-enter life much more confident and calm, because you now know that your life, who you are, does not depend on anything outside of you at all. These are choices you make, you decide to participate in, to form your life, to be successful, to make a living, to have relationships. But it all starts here. And when you come back into your world, knowing that much better who you are, because you've spent a little time inside your own skin, you can then approach life more successfully. You can be more generous because you don't feel depleted. You've given yourself back to yourself. You can go back into the world. Now I know who I am. I can help others. I can give. I can contribute. You don't feel deficient. You don't feel lacking. You've given yourself back to yourself. And that all starts with the incremental release of muscular tension. The muscles are a metaphor for your entire being. Utilize that simple system of incremental muscular release as a trick, if you will, to bring your body back to its original state. That simple technique, incremental muscular release. It's why I designed the system the way I did, for simplicity. And it's why it works. There's no intellectual process. There's no book you need to read. There's no app you need to open. There's no guru you need to speak to. And I am no guru. I am just in this with everyone else. All I'm doing is sharing what works for me in the belief that it might also work for you. And if it does, I'm thrilled. Because it confirms for me that this is real. If you tell me this works, then I go, I thought I was onto something. I knew it. And it encourages me to practice it even more. That's why I started teaching. To confirm what I suspected might be a great truth. That underneath all of this stuff in our lives, there's a simple, centered person, a simple, at peace person who is complete and can feel satisfied, if only for a moment, with his existence on this planet, and then go out and face the world. It feels great. I sleep better. I carry this sensation into my life. I still have to try to come back to it because I forget I'm pulled out into the world like everybody else. But it's a way to just get back to yourself. So that's it. I'm going to review the technique one more time and then we're going to call it a day. Sqanning, Sqanning, is the incremental release of muscular tension for the purpose of achieving a deep state of physical and mental calm. You do it by using the The hands, to start with, is a metaphor for the entire body. Remember, the muscles can only do two things, contract or release. That's all we're dealing with. All we're dealing with. So we start by contracting our hands to remind ourselves of the state that we're in 90% of the day, 90% of the time, and that this is an option, and it's a valid option, but we spend a little bit too much time there. And then on your count, your own count, my count, you're going to release all that tension. 3, 2, 1, release. That's the second choice, and let that sensation of release pass through your entire body and register what that feels like. And remember it, because you're going to want to do it again. Your body will then tell you to take a deep breath. That's step 2. Release even more tension on the exhale. And then most importantly, 15 seconds of still, quiet observation. Study the change that just occurred in your body. What does it feel like to incrementally release tension? How did it change you? What's going on? What is that? A little scary. I'm having to let go of control. A little thrilling because I'm starting to feel parts of my body I completely lost touch with. I feel alive. It's a little uncomfortable because I'm having feelings. But I also feel like I'm re-entering myself. That's all the things that happen when you're in that state of release. One more time and we're going to call it a day. Clench the hands. 3, 2, 1. Release. Let that sense of release pass through your body. Deep breath. 15 seconds of still, quiet observation. Deep breath. I want to give special thanks to the gardener outside who gave me this opportunity to stay tuned to myself even in the face of distraction. I encourage you to welcome distraction as a way to more deeply study yourself and see that you can exist as the eye of the hurricane and the calm in the middle of the storm. Never get angry at distractions. Say, let's see if I can find myself even with this going on. Because life will happen. Don't always look for the ideal circumstances. Life will happen. The secret is to find a way to stay calm and centered in the middle of life. And that's it for today. Thank you very much. Again, it's called Sqanning, Sqanning, the incremental release of muscular tension for the purpose of achieving a deep state of physical and mental calm. I will repost this, typically on Facebook. It'll stay up for a while. And then thank you, Janet. Thanks for visiting. And then it will go over to the Sqanning page on Facebook, Sqanning. And you can look at all the previous sessions there. You don't have to come to these live sessions, although I do try to do these about 3 times a day, 11, 4, and 8. I usually manage to squeeze in 2, to be honest. There's also a YouTube page, Sqanning. You can look at the sessions there. Thank you all for coming. I hope you find some peace and calm in your day and in your life, especially in the middle of all this madness. Much love. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye.